Over 200 videos on this channel now showing you how to get wealthy through property, and I've made my multi-millions in property over the last near decade, but this is the first time ever that I'm showing you step by step how I've gone from zero to multi-millionaire within that time frame. You're going to want to watch today's video. One of the first things that people ask is about my background, and I never really understand why. Is it because you want to see the hardships that I've gone through, or is it, did you start with property development? Did you start with money and things like that? So before we actually go through the step by step, maybe it's good to know about my beginnings, and this really comes through nature versus nurture, which I'll talk about in a moment. So did I start with a load of money? No, I had a very blue collar upbringing. I've had, well, I'd say a fairly traditional upbringing really, apart from when I was 13. Unfortunately, my dad passed away, which obviously had a massive impact. He died of bowel cancer relatively suddenly. But up until that point, anyway, I was a typical bit of a broken family. Dad left my mum when I was younger. Mum, incredible woman, that brought up 4 kids pretty much on her own, I would say. And so we never really had abundance in my family when it comes to wealth, but I always had an abundance of love. And I'm also very fortunate in the fact that a lot of people that I now train talk about not having a supportive partner or parents or things like that, whereas I had the complete opposite. So whilst I can empathize, I can't fully relate to it, because my mum was the sort of person where if I said, look, I'm going to go to the moon when I'm 18, she'd be like, amazing, how are you going to do it? And that would be in a genuine way. So I'm forever thankful for having that. So when I was younger, had no money, and that was my sort of surrounding. But I also had a very unique surrounding in the fact that I went to a pretty good school, a school called Dartford Grammar School, down south in Dartford, obviously in Kent. And down there, they're not paid for schools. Like I'm up north now in Leeds, where there's a lot of paid grammar schools, but anyway. And so a lot of the kids that went there, they come from private primary schools, pretty much training them to get into there. And so when I went into that school around 11, turning 12, year 7, 11. And there's a lot of money there. People were getting dropped off in really nice cars. I remember one kid that when he was learning how to drive, he was driving in a Jag. It was like, what? I was trying to save up for my driving lessons, and he was getting private pilot lessons. And I was like, yeah, this is a different world. And so I had that very unique the environment that I was in, where I didn't financially poor, but surrounded by people with money. And what I noticed is money didn't seem to make people happy, but it definitely, I would say, the absence of money put a strain on people's lives. And so that really made me appreciate the impact of what money could facilitate by at least eliminating money problems. That's the sort of nurture my environment. But then there's the nature argument as well. So nature, who am I as a person? And from a very young age, I definitely could be defined as a bit of a hustler. So I was always a bit of a cheeky chappy. I wouldn't quite say class clown, but definitely sort of liked making people laugh, having friends, and I just liked being around people all the time. And because I was surrounded by this money, I wanted a piece of the pie. So I started doing little things, whether it was Greggs and selling steak bakes in school when they closed down round the corner, or going to the local Tesco petrol garage where I'd get 5 donuts for £1 and then I'd sell them for 50 pence each, or 3 for £1. Whether it was buying a crate of Coke and selling them at school once Jamie Oliver stopped his thing, or going over to Belgium on the school trip, buying a load of firecrackers and sell them in the school. Sorry about setting those off, Mr. Heath, my bad. And, you know, doing that sort of thing. And so what I really enjoyed by it is just the hustle and grind. I liked the fact that by the time I was 13, 14, I was earning 100 quid a week. And I was like, whoa, this is really cool. By the time I got into sixth form, I had a full-time job in Subway, which people found really weird. So I'd bunk a bit of lessons, go to Subway, earn my 200-300 quid a week, which at that, well, it's a lot of money now. Oh no, it was £200 a week, sorry. It was £5 an hour, which was banging. Absolutely loved it. And it's kind of started from there, and I built it up. Now, when I went to university, I remember one comment a friend made, actually, that was a bit of a middle class comment that he probably regrets now. When I said, well, how are you paying for university? He was like, well, my parents love me, so they're paying for everything. And I remember thinking like, you're so out of touch with reality. So unfortunately, my mum couldn't contribute financially to university, but that's fine. So I ended up having 3 jobs through uni and really worked hard, saved up a bit of money. And then in the 3rd year of uni, I moved into London. I was living at home until the 3rd year because I couldn't afford it. And my flat was a bedroom in a 4-bed flat that should have been a 1-bed flat. And it cost me £642 a month for it. And it was rubbish. It was terrible. But the area was absolutely magical. It was Theodore's Road near Holborn. Absolutely loved the area. Beautiful area, just rubbish flat. So when I actually went there, I realized that I couldn't afford it. Now, it was only 642, but I was also at uni. So I had my savings and I started hustling a little bit, started trading, right? Stocks, derivatives, gold, coffee, a bit of spread betting in there as well. And I started getting pretty good at this and I started making good percentage returns. The problem was, whilst I was good, and I'd say my superpower, as the Americans would say, is I could recognize patterns fairly easily using a trading technique called Fibonacci, not the video for it, but I started getting pretty good at understanding this and I started making a bit of money. So I ended up selling that. Okay, the algorithm around it, a friend helped me with it, made quite a substantial amount of money. We're talking in the remit of £250,000 at the age of 18, 19, and that was like, whoa. Now, what happens when you give a teenager that amount of money, that's never had it before? As you can imagine, it went kaput. I spent roughly £230,000 in about 10 months. Yeah, I didn't have a watch, a car, a motorbike, or anything like that to show for it. Most of it went on tables and Mayfair, if I'm completely honest. And so I become this sort of thing where I guess I went without for so long. My mentality was, I want to show people that I've got it now and things like that. And the problem with having a lifestyle where you're trying to show that you're rich rather than being rich is you're going to go poor by doing so. And the irony is I was spending 10 months trying to impress people that frankly I didn't even like. And if you're watching this and you're one of them, my bad. But that was the reality. Do I regret it? No, I really don't, because actually it's by screwing up so monumentally at that point that allowed me to transition into the person I become today. So what was that transition? So what happened around this time is I ended up talking to a lecturer who happened to buy quite a lot of property. I can't remember the exact amount, but let's say 25. It was in the remit of that. And he happened to invest in a place called Burnley up the northwest. And if you're from Burnley, I can only apologize. And so I ended up looking at it and he said, listen, Jamie, you're going to be one of those people where you really grow into something. You're going to inspire people. It really built me up. And I thought, wow, it's the first time anyone's ever communicated this way to me, and thought, wow, this makes me feel really good actually. And I'm pretty good in myself. And so he said, yeah, you're going to be that individual or you'll end up in prison. And I was like, okay, a bit of a stark contrast there. And so this conversation really made me have a look at myself, and he happened to own property in Burnley, which is one of the cheapest places at the time, places in the UK to buy property. And I was like, well, this is amazing. So I had around £19,000 at that point left over after hustling all of those years, trading and stuff like that. And I must have been 19, turning 20 at this point. And so what I started doing is going, right, where can I buy a property? Obviously, well, not obviously, but I couldn't get a mortgage at the time. Mortgages weren't readily dispensable like they are. And I had a Vodafone bill that was not looking good for me, that was unpaid in the past, and that was impacting me. And the fact that I just wasn't earning anywhere near the amount. So I started searching around. I thought, well, what about Burnley? So I found a 3-bed terrace property. It was number 36 Burdett Street, £21,000. Sorry, £21,800, and it was rough as anything. So what I did is I begged, borrowed and stole the rest of the money to get the £21,800 to pay the legals as well. And then I bought the house and I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then I realized, I'm 240 miles away. I'm still at uni. That's no good. And what am I going to do here? Because I don't have money and I didn't actually have a car. So fortunately, a mate's dad, who kind of become a bit of a father figure for me, a guy called Terry, ended up buying me the van, rickety old van, toolbox, and was like, right, off you go. Now, this had a lip in the door. I don't know if you've ever seen it where somebody's tried to break in. And so, had no CD player. And so I'd drive up the motorway and you'd hear it go for 240 miles every single weekend. So at the end of uni, Monday to Thursday, I'd work cash in hand to get some cash. I'd drive up, buy the materials, and over about 9 months, 10 months, I refurbished the property by hand, and I'd be watching YouTube videos on how to wire up. I'd be looking how to do pretty much everything. So the only things I didn't do is I didn't connect it to the electrical box, because you need to be an electrician to make sure it's good and sign off. Moving gas, because I'm not an idiot and I would screw that up royally. Plastering, and the kitchen, putting the kitchen in because I was just going to screw that up. So then what happened is I got somebody in to do the kitchen. There's a guy that lived next door. Steve. Bad Steve. And then what happened is Steve said, look, this is what it's going to cost. I thought, yeah. The young, naive me worked cash in hand for a few weeks, got all the money together and went, here you go, Steve, here's the money. Let me know when it's done. That's how you do it, right? Ignore everything I just said. Do not do that. 4 weeks went past, 6 weeks went past, 8 weeks went past, and I'm down doing my final exams right now, texting Steve, going, hey, what's happening? Oh, sorry, mate, got held up. I'm starting next week. Give me 4 weeks, it'll be done. No biggie, I'm doing my exams anyway. Finished my exams. Right, I really should check this out. Went up, went through the door, and I got hit with this sort of, you know when you just feel something is wrong. And I went in, and my toolbox was gone. And the wiring was ripped out of the walls. The bath had gone from upstairs really randomly. The kitchen was not there. There was no plaster on. And my kitchen floor was dug up as well. And I was like, who digs up the kitchen floor? Turns out around the area, there's a lot of lead in the kitchen floor and it's worth a bit of money. I thought, do you know what? Fair play if you're going through that effort for a bit of money. I thought, oh my God. And you might be watching going, laughing along with this. It is funny now. Back then, not that funny. That was everything that I had. Genuinely everything that I had. And so then what happened is I'm banging next door on Steve's house going, Steve. And I see the netting upstairs moving. And I'm like, he's there. I can see him. So I'm banging on it. And then I look through like this. And these are like 2-bed back-to-back houses or 3-bed back-to-back houses. And I see my kitchen installed in his kitchen, and he'd done a bloody good job, to be fair to him, but he'd actually stole the kitchen and then had the audacity to install it. Now you might think, oh, I bet you were livid, Jamie. No, honestly, I can't really explain my emotions. I was just done. Absolutely done. I felt so numb from the experience. I didn't even try and get the money back. I just put the property on the market, I sold it. I think I lost money overall, but luckily not much. Can't remember what I sold it for. I could check on Land Reg, I guess. But it was just an emotionally numb moment. And I don't know if you've ever felt this, where you're just on the precipice of giving up. That's where I was. It was just an incredibly nothing moment, completely detached. I wasn't happy. I wasn't unhappy. I was just like, property is not for me. And I really made it mean something for me. I made it mean that people are going to take advantage of me because I'm too young. Bear in mind, I was barely out of being a teenager at that point. I'm stupid and people are going to take advantage of my lack of knowledge. I'm too naive to get involved into this. And the fact I'm a southerner doing it up north, they're going to rip me off because they're just thinking a Londoner, right? And actually, I know that's rubbish now, but what I made that mean is everyone was out to get me. I played victim, ultimately. So then, at some point, over the next few years, I decided to not be a little bitch, not make it all about me, and realize that actually, Steve's just a dick. And Steve is going to be that person and that human to other people. And I realized that actually, it's not all about that one person. So the first thing I did is invested in my education. And actually, no, not wealth, not property, my mindset, personal development. I knew that I needed to recalibrate. I knew that I needed to understand who I am, what I'm not, what I stand for, what I stand against. And I started really investing in who I am as a person. And that's when things started to get interesting. So what happened? Well, what happened is once I got my mindset in the right place, I thought, do you know what? Property is for me. I just had a bad start. And I think this was the first major lesson. You can't go through life expecting everything to be a success. You can't expect to not face rejection, objections, things that you need to overcome. And you have to work hard enough before you don't have to work hard, okay? And this was that moment for me that if I'm just going to give up at a moment's notice, it's like if at work you go for a promotion and you don't get it, and your idea is, well, I'll just quit then, I'm never going to get promoted. That's mad, right? You need to put in consistent value. You need to put in consistent effort. And I know a lot of gurus today seem to spout out the idea that you can quit your job in 30 days. Well, it's not reasonable. You have to bear in mind that this was years that it impacted me, and I did it the wrong way. So what happened next? I decided to get educated. Now, I went to your typical free 3-day event where they're selling at you every 2 minutes, which is absolutely fine. I love sales. I really love sales. So I'm making notes on how they're selling and that because I'm just obsessed with it. And I loved the people that gave value, didn't like the people that just sold. So I learned a lot from that. But really a few strategies stood out for me. So lease options, rent to rent, buy to let, and deal packaging. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Now, interestingly, a few months before that, I found another property. And I was like, wow, another property, this is really cool. Negotiated it and I couldn't buy it, right? Nor was I going to. And then someone's dad bought that property and gave me a couple of grand. And I thought, oi. Somebody gives you a couple of grand down in Dartford, you've got a big issue going on, right? So they end up buying it. And I got a couple of grand and I'm driving back and I'm like, I'm a pioneer. I am going to change the world with this. This is incredible. I got paid just for putting in an offer. That is ridiculous, right? And then it turns out that deal packaging was a thing. Hundreds of people had done it already. All right, I'm not a pioneer, but you know, pioneers are the first ones to get shot and all that, right? But what it did prove to me is that it's real. And other people are doing this. And some people like yourself may be watching this. You might be thinking, oh, I need to see 100 people. I need to see 1,000 people succeed. For me, no. I need to see one person that is kind of similar to me. So I needed somebody with maybe a bit younger because I was a lot more, obviously younger than I am now when I started. And I needed to see somebody that was a bit blue collar, a bit rough around the edges, not middle class, because again, that wasn't really me. And I needed to see somebody who was starting with no money. And so I could see these people, the testimonials, and I thought, yeah, this is for me. So I went through the process of elimination. Ultimately, I wanted to buy to lets. I want to build a big portfolio. I love the idea of being on the beach, right? Not reality, and it's not something I'm really drawn into. Lease options was a no because I just thought, nah, it's not really for me. I want the ownership, although I did get in. So then it was rent to rent and deal packaging. I actually did have a short stint of rent to rent and I got it up to around £7,000 a month, but it was killing me. I did not like the management at all. And I thought, you know what? Deal packaging is for me. So the first real package deal that I went in on is I packaged on the rent to rents to somebody else. And unfortunately, I don't have the exact figure, but I believe it was £35,000 that I ended up packaging it on for. And I thought, hold on, that is a lot of money to get. And I got it like that. And I thought, what if I could make this into a really good service? And I realized that everyone that was getting involved in property wanted to focus on passive income, buy-to-lets and things like that. But then I realized, and did quite a lot of analysis on this, and I realized people have got it wrong. And again, maybe it's the training companies selling it, that you can do this and do that and you can go raise millions. But what I realized is the people that had money put it into property and allowed the money to work for them. But it was a lot harder for people that didn't have money. So you have to work hard for your money first, and then you get your money working hard for you. Big lesson number 2. So I started doubling down on deal packaging. And what I realized, and this is kind of, I don't like being pioneers because why do you need to reinvent the wheel? Why can't you get a wheel that somebody else has made and just improve the integrity of it so it goes smoother and can take more passion over time? So that's what I started doing. I started looking at deal packaging. And I noticed that most people do it, in my opinion, the wrong way, even the way it was taught. You'd hear lines like, if you get a good enough deal, the money will come. I completely disagree. So most people are focusing on the property, getting a great property and then trying to sell it to an investor. And I thought, well, what you're doing there is selling the product, the property, right? And that's really difficult for a number of reasons. Like each property is incredibly different. What's the chances I'm getting a 3-bed on XYZ Street and then I get another 3-bed in the exact same condition, the exact same size on XYZ Street? for the same price. It doesn't work like that. So then people going, hold on, the one you showed me yesterday was £2,000 less. That was slightly better. And so I was thinking, well, no, that one's really hard. Also what happens is what people end up doing is they end up, if the property falls out of bed, falls out of the legals, you can't resell them. So what I did is I flipped that on its head and I decided instead of selling the property, I'll sell the service. So you guys have heard me say, put APG in the comments. So I work with people that are busy professionals, they've got 100 grand or more and they want me to build a portfolio. And then what I say is put APG in the comments and my team will be in touch. And then what happens is completely revolutionize it. So now it's not this property or this property, it's this return, this strategy, this criteria, and they pay me up front for it. So right now I'll have about 400 and I think it's 450. I think it's actually a bit higher, but 450,000-ish of people's money that they have paid me as a fee that is sat in my account and I am still facilitating the properties to them. I don't count it as my money, even though I guess it is. It's my limbo account. Now that's pretty powerful, right? Because what that means is I can go and find properties and match them to, and hey, I can pick properties to buy myself as well. So I started building this up step by step. Now this is not a net worth video. Okay, I've actually done a video of my first 5 years. Maybe we could put a link up at the end so you can watch that. And then once I hit my 10-year mark, which is in a year and a half, I'll do my 10 years net worth. So I really like being transparent and showing evidence of that. I don't want to be one of those people that's going, I'm a millionaire, when I'm not, but I am. And you can watch that video. Bit of a spoiler alert. I made my net wealth, not portfolio, which is millionaire and properties, a lot easier than you think, but net wealth was between 5 and 6 years of working. So my first year, to give you an idea of how this is scaled, my first year was around 143,000 from deal packaging. Now it's all active income. I was maybe doing 20 hours a week then, really pushing and growing and growing and growing and growing, and making loads of mistakes. I'd also lose 5 grand here, lose 10 grand there, but my net at the end of the year was 143,000 in revenue, okay? Pretty good start, and that's probably about 80% profit margins at that start. But it was hard. It was really lonely. And I'll be honest, like I wanted to give up all the time. And I'll be honest with you now, like there are times in the last 12 months where I'd wanted to give up. It's really hard work. It's stressful, right? Being a business owner is difficult. So what started happening here is I started making a bit of a name for myself because I realized another thing. Most people did deal packaging until they had enough money to get into buy-to-let, and then they stopped deal packaging, which baffled me. It's like, why would you work at something, get really good at it, and then go, great, now that I've got money, I'm going to focus on this over here. And it's like, why? Why wouldn't you systemize it? Why wouldn't you create a business out of it and then move on to the next thing? So I'm still aggressively building in deal packaging, and it's definitely my favorite. I said I'd tell you roughly what I'm doing now, fast forward. I'll tell you the most recent month. So last month we did 503,750. So it shows that, you know, when you go back, what was the first full year is probably 8 years ago now, the first full year, where we did 143,000 in the year, to last month where it's about 503,000. And that's a mixture of the property businesses, my education business, which is worth mentioning as well, because, and I recommend this for everyone, whatever you're doing, whether it's property or any other business, once you get great at it and you know you're one of the best, educate other people. And it's one, it's so rewarding, but two, it pays you. All right, I'm not talking about YouTube because this is free, right? Although this is starting to pay some money now, but I'm talking about the actual money people are investing in your programs and your courses. It's so rewarding. One, you get paid. And especially in my business, so I get paid for educating people. It feels amazing because I'm genuinely helping people get from here to here. But then also because I'm training them to get so many deals, they then bring my property company deals, which I can then buy myself and latch onto. So a lot of people go, well, how has it really grown in the last couple of years? A big part is education is now facilitating that, but also I loan people money. So each year I add another 1 million of my personal money to helping other people build their projects. And those are my three core businesses. So I've got my property business, which is probably my number one earner. Number two earner is actually my loaning business, which I'll link back to. And then number three, education. But the money from education then goes back into the property business in two ways. The people that I teach bring me more properties, so it grows the property business, and my money goes into the properties. And I then loan out about $1 million a year. This year, actually, will end up being about 1.5 million, and then I add to it each year. So $1 million last year will become 2 million this year, plus the interest, and then 3 million next year. You get the point. And I want to build that up. Number one, I make a good return on my money. And number two is specifically for my mentees to really give them that head start to start building it out. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an indication where essentially the core of what I do is deal packaging. And then I do property trading, which is buying and selling, and building my buy-to-let portfolio, which you've seen a load of those properties on this channel. I'm doing some new build developments. That's all within my property company. And I really like being transparent with it. People seem really cloak and dagger, and I think people are out there just maybe edging the results that they've got a little bit, let's say, whereas I just want to be really transparent. This is where I'm at. I'm not. There are people way further ahead of me. There's also people that hopefully are inspired to bring themselves up to this. But right now, last month was 500. I want to get the accurate number. Let me double check and come back. £503,967.48 last month, just to give you an indication of where we're at now. So a lot of that has been the property business. Again, I'd probably say like a bit of a 65% in the property business, maybe 25% at the moment in my loaning business, and then the remainder from education. My aim overall is to bring that to a third. I think it will take me about 2 more years to get it to that point. And my aim over the next two more years is to get to $1 million a month across my businesses, which will be a really exciting venture. And then I'll talk about my future, because a lot of it's very charity based and around homelessness and education in developing countries. So I am actually going to redo this video at some point, but I was talking to the team and I was really excited to get this out. It's very different to the other ones that I've seen out there, and hopefully it's come across in the right way. If you want to watch the video at the end of this on the net worth video and let me know on that as well, that would be cool. If you did like this video and you'd like more in depth about what I did year on year so you can actually implement it on a tactical level, put tactical in the comments and I'll do more videos like this. And likewise, if you got nothing from this and you think actually that did nothing for me, let me know in the comments as well. If you did get value from this video, if you could lightly destroy the like button, and of course if you're new to the channel and you want to find out more about property investing, hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to post 3 videos every single week. Hope you got massive value from this, and of course I'll see you in the next video.